What if I were to tell you that if you want to build a successful career, you've got to move to a big city? We've heard that, right? Pop culture tells us that success is found in the hustle and bustle. In music, we hear lines such as, if I can make it there, I'm going to make it anywhere. And anyone who's ever watched a Hallmark Christmas movie, we all know that the character with the big career is in the big city. As a kid from small town Alabama, I bought into that narrative. I had never even flown on a plane, but I had big city dreams. After college, I set to make those dreams a reality by working in cities such as Atlanta, New York, Boston, and Chicago. And the energy of those cities had me hooked. But 12 years ago, there was a shift when I moved to a smaller city. At the time, I was terrified I was making a mistake. I was scared that all those years I had put into my career would be for nothing. And on top of that, when I first moved here, I felt like an outsider, even though it was supposed to feel more like home. But to my surprise, I found a new form of success, one I hadn't known to look for. The reality is, I didn't just swap skyscrapers for open skies. I reinvented myself. And tonight, I'd like to walk through the 3 reinventions that help me build a career grounded in purpose, not just prestige, and a life that is meaningful, not just impressive. The first reinvention is to move from networking contacts to deep relationships. In the city, I was constantly meeting new people. From business meetings to happy hours, I was exchanging business cards and adding LinkedIn connections. Back then, I had a coworker who, after every event, would go and write down details about the people they met, such as spouse names, kids' names, you name it. And back then, I thought that was the art of networking. But when I got to a smaller city, I quickly learned it's about depth, not breadth. And I didn't need to take notes because I was going to run into those same people at the coffee shop, at a local event, or even my kids' birthday parties. Now, I understand there's obviously fewer people to meet in a smaller city, which means you need to be very intentional about who you spend your time with. We hear that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, and in a smaller city, that could be more true. So please keep in mind that meaningful relationships require patience and effort. When I first moved here, most people already had strong friendships, which meant I had to take the first step. And not only did I have to introduce myself, I had to continue putting in effort to make it work. My friends now will tell you that when it comes to reaching out for coffee or to catch up lunch, I'm usually the one that reaches out first. And for me, that's not a chore. It's just a commitment to those relationships that I value. Once you build those meaningful relationships, you can go even deeper. My close friends and I, we review our goals together. And to have a conversation as vulnerable as your dreams, your struggles, and your failures requires a level of trust you don't get in that typical LinkedIn connection. But once you build that trust, once you convert that contact to a real relationship, you find people who will support you, they'll hold you accountable to those goals, and they'll advocate for you when the opportunity arises. The second reinvention is to go from building skills at your job to building them yourself. In the big cities, there are so many people with impressive job titles and roles. But in the smaller city, the abundance of job options is replaced with something equally as valuable: time. Without hours spent in traffic and back-to-back board meetings, I found myself with a rare gift: extra time. James Clear will tell us that even a 1% continuous improvement in ourselves will lead to tremendous growth. So imagine what you could do with an extra hour a day continuously invested in yourself. Now, I understand an hour doesn't sound like a lot because it can easily be wasted on social media or TV. But if you're intentional about that hour, it can be a stepping stone to self-made success. Without as many in-person mentors around in a smaller city, I leaned into books and online resources. I was able to read about negotiation from modern thinkers such as Chris Voss, and philosophy from historical figures such as Marcus Aurelius. For specific job skills, I could take online training. And so I was able to build this knowledge and skills, not from a bustling office, but from the comfort of my own home. I carved out time to become my own teacher. I'll also plan and get ahead of the next day so that I can focus on relationships and strategic work when it matters most. I also make sure I invest in my health, getting enough sleep and exercise. And I understand that doesn't sound like a dramatic change, but doing that consistently ensures that I can show up each day and put 100% of myself into each and every day. Wisely using that extra hour wasn't just an investment in my career, it was a way to build a life that I could be proud of. That extra time wasn't just a perk, it became my path to self-made success. The third and last reinvention I want to cover is to move from trying to fit into a driven culture to driving yourself to stand out. The big cities are so competitive. There's actors, bankers, lawyers, they're all hustling. They are all pushing themselves to the limits. And I found myself working crazy hours just trying to keep up with them. In the smaller city, the culture is different. It's focused on quality of life, and there is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you have to lose your drive. It just means you have to find that drive from within. Here's the advantage of the smaller city. It is easier to stand out. In the big cities, I was competing with thousands of people for recognition. But in the smaller city, I've been able to make a meaningful difference. I've been able to lead, chair boards, serve on city council, serve on statewide authorities, all opportunities I never would have imagined in a big city. Now, I look forward to those opportunities not only because I get the chance to serve, but also because it allows me to grow in a way my day job may not offer. Success in that smaller city became about me defining my own path rather than competing with someone else's path. In closing, I moved from small town Alabama with big city dreams, convinced that success meant climbing the corporate ladder. And for years I climbed. But I've learned that success isn't about your surroundings. It's about the choices we make. Moving to a smaller city wasn't the step back I feared. It was a step towards a more richer, more meaningful life. Here, I found the freedom to define success on my own terms, investing in the relationships that matter to me, investing in myself, and building a career that's focused on purpose, not just prestige. For those in smaller cities, I hope you embrace the adventures that are around you. Reach out to that person you've been meaning to connect with. Turn off the TV and invest in yourself. And take that leap of faith on a new role. And for those who are in big cities, I hope this is a glimpse of what's possible beyond the skyline. Imagine having both, a career that excites you and a quality of life that sustains you. These are ideas we're sharing because they're choices we can all make wherever we are. Thank you.